Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Black-Liberation.Tech podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Renee Jordan, and today we're going to take a look at a blog post from December 2018, and it is entitled Good Read. By the end of the semester, I was glad to throw becoming into the middle of everything else. Somewhere between November 26th and December 25th, I managed to read the whole thing. I must say, like reading any good book should be, it was an adventure. Make sure that you read more than your school books. That is all. So in this blog post, I'm referring to reading the former First Lady, the former FLOTUS, Michelle Obama's book called Becoming. It gives us an autobiography of what happens in her life from probably around first grade, if not preschool, to the White House. And so that was something that when it came out, I jumped on it. I read it really fast because I was fully engaged. And I actually set aside time to make sure that I gave it a good read because one of my friends was reading it for her book club, and I wanted to be done in time to make sure that I had the opportunity to contribute to the conversation that would happen at her book club. And we actually met at a restaurant, and I want to say it was Maggiano's. And so we were able to discuss the book. There were good reviews as well as other reviews, and some of the more positive reviews came from being able to listen to the book as opposed to reading it by itself. So in other words, reading the audiobook was a better experience for some people than just reading the hardcover book. And so what I thought was funny was that I could hear Michelle Obama in my head, if you will, as I read the book. And so I had inflections and all kinds of excitement and things going on. And so I can only imagine that having her to actually read the book would be even more engaging. So I want to encourage you today to read good books. Don't wait for your school to require it in your curriculum, whether it's your English class, even if it's your American history class or African American history class. Pull in the things that you want to read on your own and set time aside to read it. I would set 20 minutes aside in the morning and in the evening in order to give it a read. And any additional time I could spend, I would definitely pull that in so that I could get to the next part. I always look forward to what happens next in a good book. Now, the benefit of reading leisurely is that it helps you academically. The more words and terms, vocabularies, and syntax and grammar and dialects, whatever it may be that you're exposed to, will help you to develop reading skills. Now, those reading skills are directly transferable to reading other things. The more that you engage reading, whether it's an audiobook or a hard copy that you are reading on your own, the better you'll be at reading when it comes to academic work. One of the things that I would hear from reading experts in my reading classes in graduate school and reading specialists is that if students are having issues reading, give them what they want to read and allow them to digest that as much as they want. So some of the recommendations included comic books as well as fiction books. Now, these things might not, once again, show up in the classroom, but there's no rules against you going to the library or going to an audio book to download. There's no rules against you going to a library to borrow books or even downloading books to your tablet so that you can read along as someone else reads aloud. Once again, the more you read, the more you develop your reading skills, the better you're able to read. And not only does it help you with reading, it also helps you with your writing. Now, I'm someone who writes far better than how I speak in public on my own. And I attribute that to being able to see the words and remember how they appear in other places. What kinds of adjectives and adverbs are used to create feeling, emotion, imagery, etc. So those things are good to include in your academic writing, and they will certainly appear in your reading as well. So once again, bring in your leisurely reading, help yourself out by reading as much as you want of your favorite types of books, whatever they may be, or your favorite poetry, or your favorite comic. Just enjoy it for yourself, and it will help you in other places. Now, not only do you have to read in school, when you graduate from school or when you get your license, you are going to be responsible for reading a whole lot of things in order to make sure that you are aware of what it means to sign a contract for a car, sign a contract for a house, sign a contract for an apartment, sign a contract for life, or even do your taxes. So the more you read, the more you know. Even when you read, be sure to look up the words that you don't know. So that goes for your leisurely reading, your academic reading, as well as any administrative tasks that you have to do as an adult or as someone who's progressing through school and has to be aware of what's happening next and what is required of you. For those of us who get distracted while you read, you might want to have the text read aloud as you read along. That way you can stay focused as you read. One of the accessibility tools that I use on my Apple devices is text to speech. That way I can highlight a paragraph or a page at a time and read along as Siri reads aloud. Now, if anyone catches me doing this, they'll notice that I'll actually have the speed way up. Why is the speed so fast, Renee? Because chances are, if I'm reading something that is very long in length, I might need to get through it really quickly. And the benefit of me being able to listen to it is that I listen faster than I read. Now, that I will attribute to, and I've said this before, to singing in the choir. We went from having 3 rehearsals a week to 2 rehearsals a week to at times 1 rehearsal a week. That meant any new songs that we learned, we had to learn them quick because we would have to sing them like we've known them for a long time on that Sunday. And so speeding up the reading allowed me to cover more ground with my reading task than if I sat there by myself and read. Other things that I adopted included highlighting PDFs, highlighting in my Kindle, highlighting books in my digital library on my phone, on my computer, or on my iPad, or on my laptop so that I can keep track of important things that I needed to go back to when I needed to reference the text in a paper or in class. I would also include questions that I would have as I read in the margins so that I could ask them aloud once I got to class. Now, whether that was to find out the instructor's perspectives on the matter, or pose the question to my classmates to see what they thought, or just share a question that came to mind. Perhaps it's one that can't be answered, but if I had the chance to ask the author, that's something that I would ask. And those types of questions and notes can be reused when thinking about writing a response to a test prompt or a writing prompt for a paper or a discussion board. By marking up electronic copies, not only are you saving paper, but you're helping yourself to stay organized. I found out that hard copy paper was my enemy. Now, it was an enemy in that it took extra effort in order for me to organize it. I had to stay organized. Now, a lot of times that organization took place in the form of a spiral notebook. That was my best bet. I could keep everything together and I wouldn't lose it. The challenging part was my handwriting. So I would write really, really fast, but then at times, specifically in undergraduate school, I would have to rewrite my notes soon after that class or soon after writing them. So I would spend the weekend rewriting my notes in order to make sure that I could go back and review my notes without having a question about, what is that? What word is that? Is that spelled correctly? And I would also have the chance to fill in any gaps in my notes. So if I missed something and had to skip and move on, I could circle back to it. So marking up electronic copies of reading allowed me to stay organized because not only did I have my notes, I also had the pages that the notes referred to. And so that added another layer of organization that I wouldn't have if it was just my notebook. But in my notebook, I would make a note of what page I was referring to in my notes. it's important for you to make sure that your reading includes culturally relevant reading. Now, what does that mean? It depends on you. For me, that means reading the work of African Americans. It also means reading the work of Latinos. It also means reading the work of people who might not show up in my regular curriculum in school. Now, in my honors English class, I was introduced to Zora Neale Hurston, and she is definitely someone that I enjoyed reading, and I would definitely recommend her books to anyone. The reason it's important to read culturally relevant readings, it's because it helps to pour into you. It allows you to take in the perspectives, the experiences, the challenges, the triumphs, the victories, the excellence that comes from cultures that are important to you. So think about it. Who do you identify with? Who are the authors who belong to similar groups with whom you identify? Look them up. Do a Google search, do a Google Scholar search, and see who you're able to come across that brings a perspective that is familiar to you. Find out who brings perspectives that are different from yours. Find out who is writing in these spaces and from what standpoints are they writing from. Do you agree with them? Do you disagree with them? Can you see how their experiences frame how they choose to move in and out of their journeys? Taking in the perspectives of others will allow you to be more compassionate. It'll help you to develop those social emotional skills that come from seeing how others view and experience the world. Reading is one of the ways to develop empathy for others. Being able to take in account the experience of someone else and how they might be feeling or may be feeling or how they have felt during different experiences. That can help you when you're engaging with people in different places and spaces, whether that's work, whether that's school, or even if you're in the grocery store. Think about reading as personal and professional development. You can read for leisure and develop a better understanding of how others move about the world and engage in conversations in ways that you would not have been able to otherwise. Reading can be a part of your professional development in that it can allow you to go further into your discipline, further into your research, further into your specific areas of interest so that you are more aware of what is happening, the work that is taking place, the work that has taken place, and the work that's yet to take place. So, in other words, where do you fit amongst the literature? What can you do to add to what is known in scholarship as well as in everyday life about what goes on and how people experience things? Take my blog post and podcast for as an example. I'm filling in the gap for someone. Someone's out there listening. And why? Because perhaps they need another perspective on academic and career coaching. Not only is reading a part of your personal development and your professional development, think of it as writing your own curriculum. When people write curriculum, they consider what books are included as well as what books that are not included. If you don't believe me, check out the banned book list in some states. There are some things that people don't want others to read. So instead of waiting for others to decide what you do read, go beyond what is required. Read things on your own. Think about what you are interested in and read all you want about it, whatever format it takes. One of the things that I found inspiring about becoming was that Michelle Obama could have been in my class. Now, she is a little older than me, but the experiences she had could have been the same as or similar to anyone in my class. That means greatness is inside of anyone, and it's up to you to decide what you do with it. Reading can also help you with your decision-making skills. Think about it. If you are able to consider not only your experience, but the experience of others when it comes to making decisions, then you're working with a larger set of resources, a larger set of reference points, a larger set of tools when it comes to making decisions for yourself, as well as making decisions that may impact others. Because you have the opportunity to take into consideration the decisions, the actions, the experiences, and the results of others, then you can anticipate what might occur if you move forward with a decision. And that is helpful when it comes comes to the choices you make along your journey. By reading what others experience and go through, you can also anticipate different responses. Not saying that somebody's response will be exactly the same, but you can see how people respond differently based upon their experiences and therefore be prepared for responses that vary. And because 1 + 1, when we're talking about people, it doesn't always make two. Sometimes it makes three. So once again, I want to encourage you to read, read, read. Find out what you enjoy, delve into it, enjoy it, tell others about it, find a group who has similar interests in reading, whether it's the same genre or just reading in general. Get in on it and ingest it and apply it wherever it might help you in life. Once again, thank you for listening to another episode of the Black-Liberation.Tech podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Renee Jordan. Please feel free to like, subscribe, and share, rate, and review the podcast to help it become more discoverable. And until next time, take care. Bye-bye.